Enjoy and celebration. Live life to the full. Let love fill your heart. Let the Spirit come through. The universe is so much greater than we can ever comprehend. Let your heart be open. Let your heart be full. Set your mind at rest. Let your spirit come through. The universe is so much greater than we can ever comprehend. Feel the breath in you. Let your mind be still. Feel into your heart. Let the Spirit come through. The universe is so much greater than we can ever comprehend. Let the voice inside your head be the voice of God instead. Let your heart be true. Let the Spirit come through. The universe is so much greater than we can ever comprehend. As we live, as we learn, each of us in turn, so that truth is found, so the Spirit comes through. The universe is so much greater than we can ever comprehend. so much greater, and we can never comprehend, comprehend. My lifelong endeavour has been to apply the scientific method of inquiry to the spirit. So first of all, it might be useful to define spirit, to get some idea of what spirit is. Spirit is defined as something, is recognized to be something that is invisible and intangible and very low in density. So it's invisible, intangible, low density matter. The same word is used for liquids that just disappear, like alcohol, ether, chloroform. They're called spirits as well. So you see the way the word is used for low density things that are intangible. 1 minute they're there, the next minute they're gone. Now there is a form of matter recognized in physics that could correspond to spirit. And this matter is called plasma. So what is plasma? Plasma is the matter that constitutes 99.9% of the known universe. And the matter that we're familiar with, that we think is the real matter, if you like, is 0.01% of the universe. So we're in a very rare form of matter. It's called atomic matter. It's matter in which atoms, electrons and protons and neutrons are all organized into the structure of atoms, which we're familiar with from Day's school of electrons orbiting a central nucleus, like so. But this is a very, very rare form of matter. Most matter is non-atomic. That is, it consists of electrons, protons, neutrons, atomic nuclei flying around freely. And it's very low in density. If you take an atom, and the nucleus of the atom is the size of my fist, then the nearest electrons, the innermost electrons, would be about 2 miles away. So the atom itself is mainly space. But when you strip the electron out of the atom, when you take the electron away from the nucleus, now the nucleus is the size of my fist, that electron can be 5 miles, 10 miles, 5,000, 5 million miles away. It can be anywhere. So the density of plasma is lower than the density of atoms. It's lower than the density of anything we're familiar with in our world of atoms, in our atomic world. Most plasma emits light. The reason being most plasma is found in stars. And in the stars, a star like our sun, I think 98% of the mass of the solar system is in the sun, and it's plasma, because the temperature is too high for atoms to form. But you see, I used to get my grandson Ezra laughing. I used to talk about star fart. Stars fart. what happens is they blow off plasma in solar flares, in coronal mass ejections, in cosmic radiation, cosmic wind. They're constantly pouring out non-atomic particles, including atomic nuclei, but a lot of matter is poured out that isn't organized into atoms, into space. Now, whilst the plasma is inside the star, which is very hot, you get the emission of light out of the whole body. But when the plasma is away from the star, it cools down. And it doesn't especially form atoms, but it's still plasma. And it's cold. So we get hot plasma in stars and cold plasma in space. And space is full of star fart, full of cold plasma that's been blown off stars. And this could be dark matter. So space is not empty, it's full of low-density matter. And we know nothing about that low-density matter. But we know this, that it's intangible, invisible, and low density. And it fulfills the definition of spirit. And I can only give you my perspective on spirit as a proposition, as just a speculation, as just my perception of what I believe spirit is. And that is, I believe there's a hell of a lot we don't know about the universe. The universe, in that song when I was singing about the spirit, the universe is greater than we can ever comprehend. We have no comprehension of what's going on in outer space. And it could be that the plasma is organized in ways we are unaware of in our little tiny fragment of the universe called planet Earth. And it could be out in space. The plasma is really well organized. You see, the thing about plasma is it's electrically charged. A lot of these particles are charged. Electrons are charged, protons are charged, and atomic nuclei are charged, not neutrons. And charged particles can set up fields. And fields can conduct electricity. And the key to life is electricity. So it's entirely possible that plasma could be alive in electrical terms, not in biological terms, but in terms of the communication of information. So plasma can set up fields, and those fields can be affected, the particles can be affecting each other over vast distances. And this brings us into this concept of the field. There's a wonderful book by Lynn McTaggart on the field. Harold Saxton Burr, Professor Harold Saxton Burr, did a lot of research on the life field associated with living organisms. And in my last broadcast video, I spoke about the soul and the soul body, and now I want to speak about the spirit, you see. And I believe spirit is in the form of fields. I feel the soul is in the form of bodies. I believe it's atomic matter, but on a higher frequency, a higher level of vibration, a higher energy speed. I think in terms of higher speeds of energy beyond the speed of light. But I believe spirit is not atomic matter. I feel it's more like fields, intelligent fields, living fields. And I believe that these fields of intelligent life have been around for billions of years. The universe has been around for 13 billion years as we know it, from the Big Bang, supposed. But I believe the universe has existed a lot longer. I believe the Big Bang is like the breath of Brahma. It's just like the in-breath of the universe collapsing on itself and then exploding again and then collapsing again and exploding again. You see, protons have a lifespan around about 10 to the 33 years, which is 100 trillion years. It's 33 zeros. And 13 billion years is about 1.3 with 13 zeros behind it. So the known universe has been around for a lot shorter time span than the life of the particles that make it up. So I think it's entirely possible that, what we call the life of the universe, 13 billion years, is just one cycle, one breath of the universe. Like that. So I reckon these fields, these energy fields, could be very ancient, could be around for a long time. And you see, plasmic matter, non-atomic matter, is wonderful for electrical activity. Electricity can flow much more freely in these fields than it can in atomic matter. Atomic matter is the worst substance in the universe for the conducting of electricity, because atoms are electrically neutral. It's only when you strip electrons off that they become electrically active. We call them ions. And I think my proposition is that these universal beings, life entities that we call spirits, that are actually plasma, their bodies are formed of plasma, they're fields, they're more like living fields in deep space, have basically been around so long, they've been everywhere, they've done everything. And it's like the final frontier for them is atomic matter. And they've been looking down at these little specks, these little tiny rocky planets like the planet Earth. And they've been saying, wouldn't it be fun to live down there? Let's see if we can be alive in the atomic matter. And you can imagine a few of them want to adventure out and go down into these little rocky planets. And the others are saying, no. The naysayers are saying, no, you can't do that. You can't be alive down there. It's atomic matter. It doesn't support life. Ah, says one clever dick amongst them. He says, there's a little planet down there that's covered in water. And he's a good chemist, he's a good physicist, this chap. He says, I believe it's possible for us to live on that planet of atomic matter if we live in the water, because the water on that planet is salty. And salt water is full of ions that conduct electricity. And that salty water that, believe it or not, we call plasma, because that's what we're made of. Our blood, fluid, liquids is called plasma because it's salty water, just like the sea. And I bet you they said, let's give it a go. And this is the fall into density. They descended onto this little planet. And I believe they created, through their fields, the biological life forms. I really believe in the creation. Because if you read the scriptures, if you read what the religions have to say, instead of just dismissing them, they say God created the world. And they also say God is spirit. So you've got it. The gods. We just use this word God to encompass one entity. But actually, in the ancient Hebrew, they use the word Elohim for the creator gods that set up life on earth, responsible for the creation of the life forms behind evolution. They call them the Elohim, which literally means the gods. And I believe there was a group that decided to come down here and see if they could live in biological bodies. They set up biological life by, first of all, starting off in the seed, then organizing themselves into a cell. And what they did with the cell is very interesting. The cell is a drop of seawater, a drop of salty water, in a gel, in a jelly. The thing is, you can dissolve things in water. Well, you can actually, if you like, do the reverse. You can dissolve water in things. And the things a jelly, it suspends water, you see. You can hold water in a jelly. And a jelly is made out of proteins, you see. So it's like the cell is simply a drop of water suspended in a protein jelly. And that allows for electrical activity over the membranes formed by those protein molecules. And the cell is so amazing, it's so complex. If you read my book, Awaken, I present a case that really the theory of evolution, it's got value, it's part of the story, but the whole idea of unintelligent evolution is crazy. It's just too complex. There are big holes in the evolutionary theory that the materialists believe in. But if you bring in the creative idea and integrate it with the evolutionary idea, you really get a picture, which is why I recommend you read my book, Awaken. So, spirituality, I believe, is linked to plasma physics, and that is where we're going to make the breakthroughs. But I just don't think it's as simple as I've presented it. There's another level of complexity, and that is this whole idea of levels of energy beyond the speed of light. You remember last time I spoke of the soul in terms of the level of energy at twice the speed of light, of the anima mundi, of that there's almost like a parallel earth, a parallel world based on a faster speed of energy, which forms the soul, and we're in the body, and that within that anima mundi, within that soul body of the earth, which I call hyperphysical, we have atomic bodies that we live in, and these atomic bodies are able to overlap and interact with our physical body, because bodies and fields on different speeds of energy can coincide in the same space and time. And this is critical. For one body to overlap another body, they have to interact they have to be in different planes of space and time. You see, I can't occupy the same space in the same time as somebody else, but I can if I'm on a different level or plane of energy. So the whole idea of channeling, where people are possessed by spirits, if you like, is where the spirit can overlap and overlay the physical body. So in a sense, that's that idea of the overlay of the of the physical body, of the soul body, by a spirit, is what I want to talk about now. They talk about possession by spirit. Yes, we are possessed by spirits because we are the possession or the property of spirit. In other words, the faster speed of energy is contains the lower speed of energy as a part of itself. And I have reason to believe that the speed of energy of spiritual matter is 16 times the speed of light. In other words, I'm suggesting that out in deep space, we're not only just dealing with plasma, we're dealing with plasma based on a much faster speed of energy. The physical matter we've got here. I believe our planet is in a zone of density where the speed of light is condensed. It's almost like we're in a goldfish bowl, and when light comes into the golf glass and the water of the goldfish bowl, the velocity of the light drops whilst it passes through the glass and water, and then when it comes out the other side, it accelerates again. It reverts to the speed of light. So I think that the light, the cosmic light in the universe is much faster, but when it comes into the zone of density, like the goldfish bowl that we are here, then it slows down. And I believe what it is that we are spirits ourselves that have become incarnated into these soul bodies and physical bodies because we need to be in quarantine, because we've got a disease called greed and fear, and we're very dangerous to the universe. It's like we've all got COVID and we're all in lockdown. So here we are, we've been put onto this planet, and maybe it wasn't just let's have an adventure and see if we can live in matter. Maybe it was the universe saying we've got a serious problem here. We've got some of these beings, spiritual beings, who are really dangerous, and they've got to be quarantined. We've got to put them somewhere. A bit like the convicts, the transportation of the convicts from Britain to Australia. The authorities didn't know what to do with them, so they used to send them to America, and then America, became independent. They had nowhere to send them, so they shipped them all out to Australia. Maybe it's that similar sort of. Maybe we've been transported here. So how does it work? How does the spirit possess the body? So if the spiritual matter, spiritual reality is 16 times the speed of light, then it possesses or owns the soul level of existence, which is twice the speed of light, which in turn owns or possesses the physical. So basically we're spiritual beings who have a soul body and a physical body. So we've been crushed down, and we're almost like imprisoned within these physical bodies for a duration called life. We call it life, for a purpose, to learn lessons, to sort ourselves out. Because a lot of us are pretty... I point at me. Look, I'm not... When I point at you, I've got 3 fingers pointing at me. Okay? I'm here because I need to be in quarantine as much as the rest of you. And we're all here for a purpose, to learn and to grow and to... We're safe in this situation, not a threat to the universe. So how does this interaction happen between the spirit as a field, as a plasmic field, interact with the soul body and the physical body? How does the animation process happen? Well, I believe it happens through a process called DNA resonance. The DNA molecule, when you look at it, is a coil, just like a radio coil, or the coil in a television set, which picks up the broadcast signal. The way that television and radio work is that an invisible, intangible wave of information is sent out. Field of information is broadcast and carries a wave. It has a carrier wave of information modulation, which is the broadcast program. And I think that's what's happening here. I think what's happening is that what my vortex physics it does is it allows for the overlay of superphysical, the spiritual I call the superphysical field over the hyperphysical field, which is overlaying the physical field. And the hyperphysical field has DNA molecules which totally coincide and overlay the DNA of our cells. And so it's like stepping down the energy. The information is passed through the hyperphysical into the physical. So I'm going to complete this. I'm going to do another talk on God and the gods and talk all about the interplay, the resonance that occurs. You see, the DNA resonance, the resonance that occurs, the interplay of information between the spiritual dimensions and the physical dimensions and the soul dimensions. And I'm going to sing you then a song in which I speak about we are the gods here in human form, here to overcome through battle, pain and storm, that tenacious hold onto power, greed and pride that prevents us as gods from evolving on high. So that is what I believe. I believe we are the gods here in human form. We're it. Some of us are the actual Elohim incarnate. I believe that is what Jesus Christ was. I believe he's an incarnation of Michael, who's also Sananda. Who's a member of the Elohim team, the original team who came down here. With his brothers. So it's very exciting. None of us really know who we are, but that's part of the game, you know, the amnesia, the forgetfulness. But this is the time to awaken. We've got to wake up now to who we really are, discover ourselves as spiritual angelic beings occupying these physical bodies for a purpose, for a duration. Look, this may be wrong, but it's so much more fun. It allows for the breakthrough to the next frontier of exploration into spiritual reality if we allow for the existence of it. This whole idea of cramping ourselves into this sort of materialistic belief system, it doesn't go anywhere. It just destroys the earth with ignorance, ignoring all other information in the body of science, apart from the materialistic view. That's ignorance, from the verb to ignore. And I welcome you on this journey with me of non-ignorance. That is allowing for the possibility, greater possibility of higher realities as soon as we allow for the possibility of existence of energy beyond the speed of light. Thank you.